Welcome to the House of Nettles Podcast.
We talk about TV, films, and whatever else we want to talk about.
And today, particularly, we're going to talk about season 2 of The Last of Us. Yay, us. We have some thoughts, we have some feelings, and if you enjoy our thoughts and feelings, make sure you go to the link somewhere down in the description and, follow your boy, follow your girl. We got a whole bunch of social media places. You can see more of these lovely faces.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of
Not
round
mine, just his.
We're seeing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're listening to just the audio version, then listen to that, then go and find our faces.
Exactly. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but we have a lot of thoughts of this last season of The Last of Us because the season is just over, but we're going to talk about it. We're just going to talk about a lot of things that we enjoy to discuss.
So we watch a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. I think we talk about pop culture a lot just between the two of us, like when we're having coffee in the morning and stuff like that. And so we wanted to bring those conversations into a podcast. And you finally let me on your channel too.
Now I've been saying you can come on the channel. Don't tell the people that.
I said no until now.
Till now, she's making her debut, and I'm happy to have her. We be talking and hooting and hollering about all the things we like, and now I'm just happy we can talk about it more with more people. And first, before we go and dive all the way in The Last of Us, I just want to talk about maybe some things we have watched, some things we plan to watch, or something we're just interested in watching.
Sure.
Yeah. I know recently we watched the 4 seasons. It was on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
A little comedy drama. We got older people in their 50s. We ain't in our 50s. Not yet. Hopefully we get there one day. But not today is not the day. Today's not that decade, not even close. But I really enjoyed that quick mini series going over the trials and tribulations of people, people of a certain age living their life.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was funny. Actually funny. Like, I laughed out loud a few times. I do like Tina Fey a lot. Like, I watched 30 Rock. Did you watch 30 Rock?
I've seen important episodes of 30 Rock.
Okay, so yeah, I watched all of 30 Rock. I watched Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. So I'm a fan, and I really liked it. I liked that it was short and sweet. It was like easy to watch when you're eating dinner or whatever. I think that was nice. And I liked that it kind of had like a pretty good dramatic element at some parts. So do we want to spoil?
We're not going to spoil 4 seasons. Okay. I want y'all to watch it.
I feel like I would recommend that to anybody. Like, if you are a 30-something or older and you are in a friend group that has gone through like a lot of changes. Like, I know I'm a millennial. I'm in my 30s, and some of my friends have already started getting divorced. Some people are like just getting married, just finding their footing. So I liked it, even though they're older than us. But I liked just the story of like a more mature group of friends.
Yeah, it really felt like we were looking in real people's lives, and they had real problems and issues that you can be like, okay, I can see how people deal with those situations. It didn't get too cartoonish. Of course, it was a comedy. They had scenarios where you're like, okay, I don't know how you got there. You got to suspend your belief a little bit, but it was good seeing in those adult, mature places.
I thought all of it was really grounded because they were rich. So, that's probably the least relatable thing. But yeah, I thought it was grounded.
But everybody had a great job in that show. I gotta figure out what they was doing.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And as for me, I am rewatching The Simpsons like I do up to season 12, of course. We normally watch I watch season 13 too. So rewatching The Simpsons, which is one of my favorite shows. And then we also started watching the Mighty Ducks movies.
Yes.
So we watched one. Yes. So I had seen one as a kid, but I've never seen 2. And that's where we are now. And we are both trying to figure out why Gordon Bombay didn't just go back to practicing law. He had a whole law degree. He was a rich, successful lawyer. And then he was like sleeping at somebody's house, basically.
Yeah,
sharpening skates.
Where'd the money go, Bombay? You ain't have to go that far. I know he got hurt in the minor hockey league, but you can keep practicing law. It's only been a year in show canon between Mighty Ducks 1 and 2.
I just don't think you quit your job as a like you don't give up your law license to go play a season of minor league hockey. He could just go back to practicing law. So we'll find out what happens because we didn't finish the movie. I think we watched about half of it. So
Yes, yes. So we have more to watch. And let us know what y'all are watching in the comment section. Let us
hmm
know what we should watch. I know coming up this year, there are going to be things like Peacemaker Season 2, Ironheart's coming out soon, Rick and Morty just premiered, and there are a bunch of
hmm
other things that we have our eyes on. Let us know if we need to have our eyes on anything particularly.
yes, always looking for something to watch, especially when we're eating dinner.
Mm-hmm. 100% on that. What? I guess we got to give the people what they want, and let's start discussing The Last of Us Season 2.
Okay, I want to ask you as we transition to talk about The Last of Us, what is your relationship to the games, and how much did you know about it before like going into the show?
Lucky for me, I mean, lucky or unlucky, going into Season 1, I honestly knew nothing about the games. I didn't even know they were zombies until my lovely wife told me, and I think they might have had it in the trailer. I can't remember, but I know you definitely told me zombies
hmm
existed. And for everyone that's listening, it will be spoilers for up to Season 2 of the series.
hmm
No game spoilers though.
Okay. Up to spoilers up to season 2. I have to remember that because I didn't play the game, but I'm a person who like watches playthroughs. So I am a big fan of like Corey Kenshin and Berlizzi and that type of stuff. So I did watch the playthroughs of both games. So I knew what was going to happen going into season 1. And I really enjoyed season 1. I thought that it didn't have as many rewatchable episodes for me, but I thought that it was still a really good show, and I was really curious to see going into season 2 how they were gonna were they gonna stretch out the second game and how audiences were gonna respond to it because I think it is a really interesting like it was a controversial game, especially game 2. So I already knew it was going to be a lot of conversation about season 2 and I was interested to see like if they were going to make any changes to anticipate like a similar backlash. So I didn't think that hmm I didn't think the problems were going to be the ones that we got though. Like I didn't think it was going to be such a drastic change in quality from season 1 to season 2 and some of the bigger plot changes that happened from like the game compared to the show. But I think I'm going to try not to compare the game to the show too much because I do want to kind of give the show its fair shake.
Yeah, but guys, believe us, we want to let the show exist on its own, let it be its own entity, because that's what it is. Of course, hey, they are taking from the game, but they have to put their own stamp on things to liven it up, make it juicy.
Yeah, yeah. So season 2 picks up 5 years later from the end of season 1. So at the end of season 1, we saw Joel go through the Firefly compound and eliminate everybody because they wanted to kill Ellie to try to create a cure. And then Ellie asks him, swear to me what happened, what you told me was really true, and they couldn't use me to make the cure or whatever. And he says yes. And so we jump forward several years. They're living in the settlement in Jackson with Tommy. And it seems like Ellie is kind of having a little bit of trouble fitting in and finding her place. Like I think it seems like she wants to take a little bit more of a leadership role and she really wants to be out there in the adventure and the action. And so we see her participating in the patrols with some other people her age, like some other like early 20 somethings, late teens. And she's also in a place where her relationship with Joel is very strained. So we come into this season kind of trying to figure out what has happened. Why has their relationship deteriorated so much? So her and Joel are kind of at odds. Joel is kind of also maybe kind of feeling a little bit like an outsider in his community, but just really more so worried about his relationship with Ellie, like what's going on with her and their relationship. And we also get introduced to a new group of people, namely Abby and her crew. And Abby says early on in the season that her intentions are to find and kill Joel. So we have those two things going on, and then we also have Tommy, who is very concerned about potential threats to the community and what would happen if like a horde of zombies were to find their way up to Wyoming. Could the city um not fall, basically? So that's where we are when season 3 kicks off.
Yes, and
Or
all that.
season 3, season 2.
Don't skip too far ahead now. Don't skip too far ahead. At
Yeah,
least
we'll
not for
talk
me.
about season 3. We'll talk about season 3.
But yes, everything kicks off. Everything's to a head. We like you
Mhm.
said, there was a great introduction of the characters. I thought in those first two episodes, learning about the community. We see Dina, which is Ellie's bestest friend, close friends. History would say they were roommates. At the end of at
Mhm.
the end of the season, and Jesse, the proclaimed gonna be next leader of the community. I love Jesse. I'll wait till we start talking about characters, but Jesse was
Yeah.
definitely gonna be a standout. And I did enjoy that we did get to see more of Tommy coming through in this
Mhm.
season, especially in these first three episodes. We got to see more
Mhm.
of the development of the group.
Yeah. Well, we can transition and talk about characters now. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and let's talk about our characters. We're gonna start off with everyone's favorite character who made it in three episodes of the season, Joel Miller himself.
Yes, yes. And
Oh,
Pedro Pascal knocked it out the park again.
we miss you, Pedro. We miss you, Pedro.
Yes, yes. Oh, I remember watching that episode with you, and just like the fact that we managed to get you through the first season and through the 2-year break without you getting spoiled. I was so happy that you didn't get spoiled in between.
Yes, I could tell everyone here. I honestly had no idea his character was going to bite the big one,
No.
make it to the man in the upper room, and when it happened, I was more shocked than anything. I was like,
Hmm.
"What's going to happen? Like, how does this show keep going on?" Almost
Yes.
reminiscences of when I watched Ned Stark die in Game of Thrones way back in the
Hmm.
day. I was like, how does the story continue at this point? But I
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
at that point, I was still excited to see what was happening because a lot was going on in the city. But in terms of Joel, did you like enjoy his introduction of his character? Or was there any setup that you like um, for the plots that
Yeah.
came for him?
I liked well, first let me just say one thing about House of Nettles you all have to understand is he gets very attached to characters. So I assumed that he was gonna have a really hard time with Joel's death. So it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I thought you were gonna really have a hard time with it, but you got past that really quickly. I liked because I already knew I have like grieved ahead that Joel wasn't gonna be with us for very long, and I think I was okay with that. Like he lived a long life. I think he got to accomplish a lot. Um, I think it was good that we saw that he did make some type of peace and he did have some type of hope for him and Ellie's relationship before he was killed. So I did like that. I mean, but I think that's just the nature of the world they live in. And I'm a firm believer that more TV shows should kill characters. So like my favorite TV show is The Walking Dead, and I really liked in the earlier seasons that they would kill people, and I think that's just the way things go. Like when you do as many things as Joel has done in the past, it makes sense that it would catch up to you at some point. So I think it made sense that he was eventually gonna meet his end. And I think even for him, he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I did something. I don't really care to ask you what I did, but it is what it is. So I think that I was okay with him dying. I really enjoyed Pedro Pascal's portrayal of Joel. I really, really enjoyed Joel's relationship with the therapist, which I know a lot of people didn't like. But I think just working in the industry I do, I think that is so common in therapeutic relationships where there's just this big hurdle you have to overcome when someone isn't telling the truth, like whether it's to you or to themselves. And I think like Joel and Ellie are so similar because just like she says, like Ellie doesn't tell the truth. Joel knew the whole time he was having that conversation with the therapist why Ellie was mad at him. And he was justifying it, but he didn't even really want to admit what he had done. And even when he was talking to Ellie and they were having that heart to heart, like she was the person who had to say it. and he kind of just nodded and like admitted to it. But I thought that was just really interesting, uh why he kind of felt like he was justified. And then we get that flashback in episode 6 from his childhood that kind of even gave us more backstory and context to why he made the choices that he made. I thought it was just an excellent depiction of like a morally gray, very human, very like well fleshed out character.
Yeah, especially just knowing about Joel, knowing, learning about everything he may have done in the past prior to the series even starting in season one, after the apocalypse of mushroom people started. Uh, Seeing his journey, I was happy that in Wyoming, it seemed like he was able to find some peace. In
Yeah,
that
for
flash,
sure.
yeah, in that flashback episode, just seeing how he and Ellie, like he really saw, like, this is my second chance to have this family, and I know it kind of crumbled apart for those 9 months between Joel and Ellie, but he was truly a character. Like, he got to live his best life as best you can
It
live in a
is.
zombie apocalypse.
Those last 5 years, and that's one thing I will say, like I really appreciated some of the art direction in this season, because I think in that episode after he passes and Ellie kind of walks through the house, like it looked very lived in. It looked decorated, like he had clothing and he was like trading for coffee and stuff. So he did at least get to live some quality of life, and they did have some good moments together before she turned into a teenager. And like one of the things that really struck me as I was watching, especially episode 6, was he didn't really get to do those things with Sarah, because she didn't live as long as Ellie lived. So I think even just some of those experiences, they may have been things that he wanted to do with his daughter before she died. And so I thought that was nice that he got to have those.
Yeah, and you can see that in the small thing, like him getting that cake for her, him not him
Yeah.
he
Oh.
yeah, he got
Mhm.
to have that second chance. I know in his mind he had to say that for those 20 odd long years, like if he ever got that chance again, he would not forget that cake. He'll make sure he's there, and he and his adopted daughter, he got to be there and make sure he got to do those small things
Yeah.
for her that he didn't do in the past.
And I think people will say like, "Oh, well, Joel is selfish because he didn't he didn't save Ellie for any other reason, but like he could not stand to lose another child." But I think that's people. That's like parenthood to a certain extent. It's like he told her that love, that parental love is something that's hard to explain to somebody who has never been in a parenting role. And I think that's true whether like it's your biological child or you're a caregiver or whatever it is. But I think he was trying to get her to understand like it kind of doesn't it's not always the best decision, but you just do the best that you can. Like he's a dad, but he's a person. So I really liked that we got to see kind of like his rationale for why he did what he did, whether that was right or wrong in terms of like maybe potentially having a cure. To me, that mattered a little bit less than what he was working through as a human being.
hmm I
You
like
know.
that they don't just tell us it was right or wrong. It's for the audience. It's for your own sake, for
Mhm.
your own feeling. Do you believe what Joel did was right there, or was it wrong there? We don't have Ellie like constantly hitting us over the head. Well, he shouldn't have did it. He should have done it.
Mhm.
Just, hey, it happened. He made a decision. What did it cost? What did it not cost? Is something that we can't answer. But this is about a man who grew. He didn't love Ellie at first. He didn't know Ellie, but he grew to love her, and he couldn't
Mhm.
stand to lose another person. And can you fault somebody for not wanting to see somebody die?
To the point that in season 1, that's the whole conversation that Bill and Frank are kind of having. Like, um, Frank is trying to tell him that you need to live. Like, we need to have something to live for. We need to have a quality of life. Survival is not enough. And I think that's probably like what the point of most apocalyptic shows usually is like just surviving, just living and going through the motions and staying alive. What is the point of doing this? Like, what's the point of the settlement? What's the point of all of this if we don't have family and if we don't have community? So I could definitely see for Joel, like, what would be the point in letting Ellie die and leaving her in that hospital? And to him, it might feel like, okay, well, even if potentially there could be a cure, what's the point? Like, who do you want to live for? Who should society continue to go on for? So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think we all enjoyed Joel's journey, how short it
Oh,
was in
so
the
sad.
episode. We gonna
Mm-hmm.
miss you, Joel. R.I.P.
Yeah, we're gonna miss Joel.
Yeah. Next character is going to be one that was a little controversial for season 2 in terms of not how they were portrayed. It's not about that. It's about the choices, the writing decisions made for them, and that is Ellie. Is it Ellie Miller? Is her last name officially Miller?
You know what? I don't know. I would have to go on the wiki. I'm not sure what Ellie's official last name is.
I'm gonna call her Miller because we gonna call her Miller, okay?
Okay. Yes, yes.
um,
Portrayed by uh, what's the Bella Ramsey,
Bella
who uses they
Ramsey.
them pronouns. So if we say Bella, we'll say they them, but if we are talking about Ellie the character, we're gonna say she her.
Yes, yes, okay. A lot of decisions were made for her writing decisions. I will say early on, it was cool. It was cool to see how angry she was at Joel. Like, and without, well, at least me as somebody who's never played the video games, I'm like, why does she have this such visceral reaction to Joel? Like, man, this
Mm,
man raised you. He was your pappy for all these years. Like, when did this happen? When did this change? Uh,
mm-hmm.
and just seeing how it evolves up into the moment where the incident happens with Abby's group, and we see like, wow, she loved this man. Like, this was her
Mm-hmm.
father, this was her family. As we learn later in the season, this was her community. It was
Mm-hmm.
Joel, and she cared that much. But to see him,
Mm.
take that pipe to the neck, that sounded weird. And it was like,
Pause.
hey, we don't say pause around here. I stand by all my words.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a 40-year-old man, so we don't gotta say pause. Uh, but it was just to remind us, like, no, she does care. She does care. She loves him. This is her world, and it just came crashing down in front of her eyes, thanks to
Mm.
Abby's group and how she regrouped from that. Um, I think that was where, up until that point, I think, okay, it's okay portrayal. I'm enjoying the character for me. And then she had the time skip when she was knocked out in the hospital, got up. But I think it really fell apart once she started traveling on her own, and her relationship with Dina. How, and not the relationship being the issue, but just how it didn't seem like they were going on a revenge mission to assassinate the people who killed Joel. I think it
Mm.
became a little lighthearted as the season went on.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I think I remember last season, one of the bigger criticisms of Ellie and Bella Ramsey's performance was that a lot of it was, I know we said we were going to talk about the game, but this is not a comparison though. But like people were saying they didn't they didn't really get a chance to do their own version of Ellie because it seemed like the direction was like just say it just how Ellie said it in the game. So you got a lot of lines that were like straight from the game, and the delivery was straight from the game.
Mm.
So going into this season, I was really hoping that like they were going to give Bella Ramsey a little bit more leeway, and so I was like going into it open to, okay, I want to see what their version of Ellie is. I want them to move a little bit away from being like trying to be beat by beat to the game and do their own interpretation. So I was like kind of trying to go into season 2 with that in my head. And then I was also thinking about at the beginning, like, okay, they're pretty much portraying Ellie as a typical teenage girl, mad at dad, mad at like the one parent that you do have. And then of course we know that like Ellie is smart. So Ellie has probably figured out that Joel is BSing just like any kid who knows when their parent is lying to them, you know? And I know they kind of introduced this idea of like Ellie not feeling like she fit into the community or kind of being an outsider a little bit in the community. And so I was kind of curious about like, well, why did Ellie choose to position herself in that way as kind of not really like kind of being a smart ass to everybody in town, with the exception of it seemed like Dina
And probably
and
Joel at first.
Joel at first, Dina and Jesse, because Joel mentioned that she was friends with Jesse, so it's like clearly something changed here, that she didn't feel like she could be connected in the community, And I was like, maybe a little bit of that because she's so similar to Joel. Maybe she didn't really feel like she fit in because Joel kind of kept back a little bit, it seemed like he definitely was a little bit more integrated, but Joel is Joel, so like he gonna be cool with you, but he ain't ever gonna really be that close to you, like,
I wonder.
um
I wonder if that's an element of the time skip because I know they said it didn't feel like Ellie was part of the community, but was that only in reference to the last 9 months leading up from the incident that
mm,
caused Ellie to not trust Joel up until his death? Because that's only a 9 month period, I believe.
yeah, and I think it's just really Ellie's personality. I think Ellie feels like I'm a tough kid, I've been through a lot, I've seen things, I've done things that other people here haven't experienced. I'm different because I'm immune. I think Ellie is very much so like Joel in the sense that she wants to be a part of the action. She doesn't necessarily want to be a leader, but I think she wants to be heroic. I think she wants to do cool things. And she's a teenager, you know? So I think it's just important to remember like, yeah, Ellie very much so behaves like a young person would behave. And it's as evidence in the fact that her and Dina are both very impulsive. Like in the first episode, we see they just blow off the person who's in charge of the I guess I'll call it expedition for lack of a better word. Like they just blow that lady straight off, who actually then we find out later happens to be like a little bit of Ellie's ex. And they go in their head first. They're excited to kill zombies, everything like that. So I think that like people at first I was willing to give Ellie a lot more leeway because I'm like, okay, she's just like a going through a phase. And she also is kind of right to be mad at Joel because Joel is lying to her.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of her anger is justified, and we have to remember like Ellie is queer, and Ellie has a crush on somebody who she feels like she could never have a chance with. She feels very judged by Jesse. So I think she doesn't really necessarily feel like she is understood and fits in. And I think she's a little bit resentful of that. And she can't quite figure out how to move past that. So she just masks it with like a lot of sarcasm and F words and all that type of stuff.
Yes, it definitely has to be hard being queer and still some of the older people holding on to the ways of the old world, as we see in
Mhm.
that scene where that cafeteria worker or bartender goes off on Ellie and Dina, who are sharing an intimate moment at the New Year's ball, and yells at them, calls them a slur. And it's
Yeah.
like, bro, we've been fighting zombies by
You
25
wow.
years.
The world has ended, bro. This don't even matter. It didn't
It's
matter before, but it really don't matter now.
it really like if that's really on your mind, like how dare these two women kiss? It's like it's going. We fighting mushroom zombies.
You're
30.
very privileged in this world to be worried about who's kissing who when other people out here getting ripped apart literally
Mhm.
by zombies. You're very privileged to be worried about who's kissing somebody. But yeah, I think up to Joel's death and even probably the episode after, I think I was kind of chalking up a lot of Ellie's behaviors to, okay, Ellie's just a teenager. She's a young person. She's been through a lot of trauma. She just has to kind of figure things out. But then as the season went on, I just felt so I felt the hand of the writers in like this clash of like we want to make Ellie be what we need Ellie to be for every season. I mean, not every season, every scene or every episode, rather than having her be like a consistent character that progresses into something throughout the course of the season. And what I mean by that is like sometimes Ellie is like flirty and she's jokey and she's just super lighthearted. Sometimes she's really impulsive and she runs out and does things that like, oh, I'm immune. But it's like, okay, but you can still be ripped apart. Like Joel used to remind her.
Yep.
She does things that are really impulsive and immature and like puts other people at risk. And then sometimes she's just like she's lashing out and she's super angry and she's contradicting herself from like one episode to the next and one scene to the next. And so I found it really hard to like by the end of the season to really understand what journey Ellie had been on. Like if I had to say what journey had Dina been on for the season, I could tell you. But in terms of Ellie, it was just kind of like where how it's hard for me to describe what Ellie is thinking and feeling and wanting definitively by the end of the season.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think some people would try to come and say like, oh well, she's supposed to be changing throughout the season, but it's not that she's changing that's the issue. It's that the inconsistency between the
Yes.
scenes of her being lovey dovey with Dina to now she's on a murderous rampage to being back lovey dovey to like you said now she has an attitude with these people who've come to save her like in terms of Jesse and Tommy, like why do you have an attitude with them? Like I don't understand. Like her journey, the way she's getting to her journey keeps changing. Like I don't believe she's like a person who's on a vindictive rampage to avenge the death of her father figure. All of a sudden it changes on a on a snap of a dime. That's not a real term, on a snap of a dime, but it changes so quickly. And now she's playing house with Dina. And one of the scenes that really kind of made me angry was when they were holed up in Seattle. Dina's over there trying to do some crazy map stuff to locate Nora, who they heard on the radio, who's part of Abby's group. And our girl Ellie just turns on the lights to the whole building. In my mind, I'm like, it's the middle of the night. If you turn on all the lights to this building that hasn't had lights on in probably 20 plus years,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna see
Mm-hmm.
that. And you telling me they didn't notice that? All right, I gotta suspend my belief. I suspended for the mushroom people. I can suspend it for that. But then she goes and calls herself she's a dumb poopy head and not as smart as Dina. It's like you've been surviving your whole life. You've at
And
least
Ellie
gotten
is very smart.
exactly.
We see Ellie be super smart and figure her way out of situations in season one. So then season two, it's like you literally walked across the whole country with Joel. You traveled the whole country with Joel and you made it and you saved Joel actually. So to have her then the next season be like, "Oh, I don't know how to read a map." It's like, "Girl, what you talking about?" Yes, you well, and if you didn't know, you would have picked up that skill because survival and being able to be competent and capable seems to be very important to you.
Yeah,
And I oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna say you wouldn't have known nothing. Like to say, hey, maybe you aren't as good as Dina at locating somebody from map readings. Cool for you to say I couldn't have done that. It's like you couldn't have done that. Then how are you gonna make it by yourself if you're gonna go on this mission by yourself?
Right. And it feels to me that they had a version of Show Ellie that they kind of wanted to portray, but they still had to get Ellie to certain important points in the game. So they would just like drop the bigger scenes from the game into the story plotline for Ellie. Like a big one for me was when she runs into Nora at the hospital and she just I mean the red light was cool and I think Belly Ramsey was really good in that scene, but it's like it just the tonal shift was so abrupt from when she's with Dina to then she's like in super revenge mode and then we see her in another episode and she's like, well, maybe we should go back, you know. So I think it just doesn't it's not a character progression. It's not a descent from like, oh, I want to go get revenge for Joel, but I'm not really sure to by the end of the season I'm 100% sure this is what I want. I want to get revenge. It's definitely more of a like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be getting revenge now. Let me go do that. Let me go off one and do something. And also, I feel like again the hand of the writers in terms of let's manufacture these scenes so we don't really make Ellie look too bad or too villainous, or we don't really want her to be like a straight up murderer, but she kind of needs to be like because her whole point is to go to kill Dina and the people that helped her. It's not to go oopsies, I accidentally killed somebody. Like you're going to kill these people.
Yes, that's that's your mission. That's the single mind to travel from
Yeah.
Wyoming to Seattle and then maybe think we need to go back. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like this is a
And yeah, and Dana even understands that. That was the whole point of that conversation. She's like, "Look, I understand wanting to get revenge, and I'm in this with you." So it's like, if your girl is sitting here saying, "Look, I understand why you want revenge. I understand your need to get revenge. Go, we're in this together. Let's go do it." It feels like they keep pulling the reins back, like when she's about to go full throttle or she's about to tap into a darker side.
and that is Dina Miller. Can I call her
No.
Dina Miller? I feel like
Everybody is not a Miller.
I feel like she like a cousin. Like Joel, Joel like Dina.
Mm,
Joel like did
I think Joel liked Dina.
yeah, yeah. He would. I think he would have been happy to see Ellie end up with Dina in the at the end of the day.
He
Uh,
came around to it. His gaydar was, oh my god, his
yeah.
gaydar was off.
Boy, that boy couldn't. He couldn't hit a bullseye if he seen him, boy. But yeah, I really enjoyed Dina. It was good seeing just being introduced to her. You know, another character within this world, living in Wyoming, growing up with Ellie. We see that they have Dina did have a close bond with Ellie, but also with Joel. Like you know, they uh that's part of forming a community, being involved with everyone in it. And it was cool seeing her and seeing unfortunately she did have to be there when Joel bit the big one
Mm,
and then have to admit that she was had a whole baby up in her. But you know, Ellie was happy about that, so I guess we're supposed to be happy about that too in this death mission to the end.
yeah, I like the actress who plays Dina. I think that she did a really good job. But I would probably say Dina is my least favorite character this season because it just feels like she's in a different show. Like I appreciate that Dina is smart. I really appreciate that Dina goes after what she wants and like she has her own really passionate systems of belief. Like it's cool that she's one of the only people who is willing to kind of like go with Ellie, like stand up for Ellie and go with her on this journey. And she's like, "Hey, I've just been waiting on you to get up out that hospital. Like, let's go get this revenge." Like, I appreciate that she is truly a ride or die, and I appreciate that she's very competent and capable. Because I think on a different show, she would have literally just been like something that the main character had to save over and over again. She would have just been a damsel in distress. But I do think that like she seemed to have been shot for the male gaze.
I'll give Dina this. She said it was dangerous, but she just said it's the only way we can make it in is going
Yeah,
through here. Uh,
yeah,
and I guess everyone else can figure it out too. That was dangerous. Jesse saw the map on the thing, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely dangerous. That's where they at right there." But
yeah.
in terms of just how Dina, do you think they made her almost too smart in comparison to Ellie? Like she seemed
Hmm.
so perfect, and Ellie almost seemed like she was there for the ride once they got to Seattle. I felt like Dina was the one discovering things, figuring things out, and Ellie was like, "I'm ready when you are, buddy."
That's the problem when you have somebody who describes their relationship as a mother-daughter relationship. And it's like, well, no. These two people are same age peers and they're in a romantic relationship, not a mother-daughter relationship. That's not what a I mean, you know, some relationships, me putting on my therapist hat, some people are parentified in relationships, but I didn't think that that's what that relationship was necessarily supposed to be. And just to compare it to The Walking Dead, because I compare everything to The Walking Dead, there's in that group, because we're all talking about people who have survived the apocalypse. And for the younger people, their whole entire life, right? These are people who are like battle tested survivors. So they should all have about the same level of competence. Jesse, Dina, Ellie, Joel, Tommy. Like these are all people who go on rides. They go on patrols. So they should all be able to do certain skills because that's what they do for a living, basically. That's their job. And so like on a show like The Walking Dead, everybody is competent because duh, like if you survived the zombie apocalypse for 10 years and you're around a whole bunch of other competent people, like earlier in the seasons of Walking Dead, we see them, like we see Shane teach people how to use a gun. We see Rosita, like when they go to Woodbury, they teach people how to defend themselves. So you could just fill in the backstory and the context and assume that why can't Ellie and Dina have a similar set of skills? Now, of course, like Dina might be a little bit better, or she might be somewhat better at interpreting the map. She might be a little bit better at planning, but like the fact that Ellie wouldn't have any of those skills whatsoever, it just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's where that whole idea of like we have to take some things away from Ellie to give them to Dina to flesh her character out. It's like, no, wouldn't a person like Ellie like a person like Dina because she's super capable, and wouldn't Dina like Ellie for similar reasons? Like
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you're supposed to have in a world like this, you're going to have a baseline of how you wouldn't have survived this long, especially outside beyond their walls in Jackson, Wyoming, without a certain level of skills that you've learned throughout the years. And to take some away to give to another character, it's like no, somebody could be better, but that doesn't mean I'm not competent at the skill. Like Ellie is better at shooting. That wouldn't mean that Dina isn't a good shot herself.
Right. To me, like it would make more sense if Ellie didn't know how to do something, that she would lean over Dina's shoulder and be like, "Teach me how to read this map.
Like,
Show me."
what are you doing? Like, let's figure this out together. Not oh well and skip away.
But no, I'm like a firm believer in we need to think about context and the world that we live in, and that's how you make a good show because the actors or the characters' choices have to make sense for the world that they live in. And people who would survive a like probably one of the worst apocalypses to be in, you would be competent and capable, like unless you lived behind a gated community for the whole entire time. But these are people who are they're runners, they're patrollers. Why would they not have survival skills? Why would they not go back and check on Shimmer? I'm not gonna get into
We gonna get Shimmer. We gonna get Shimmer at all
Jesse when
costs.
it got Shimmer.
Jesse
Jesse was
made
like, and I checked on your horse, by the
yeah.
way.
I fed the horse. I brushed him. The Shimmer gonna be cool thanks to me. Hopefully do we see Shimmer again? Can we spoil ourselves for season 3? Can you tell me that?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my
They
god.
changed so much. I don't know if we're gonna see Shimmer or not.
We gonna we gonna
But
we gonna keep Shimmer alive. But yeah,
mm,
maybe some dirty. Yeah, that with Dina, especially just when they talked about the mother. Now, who said the mother daughter relationship? Was that after credit?
it was yeah. It was in
Yeah.
like the podcast or the post episode thing. Yeah.
Let's not describe
Mm.
any romantic relationship at any time as parent child. That's never a good thing. I think we need to know that people. We need to know that.
It's some relationships are they do mimic that dynamic, like especially
Homer
when there's a
Marge.
big or especially when there's a big age gap. But I feel like that in this context, I don't think they have a parent child relationship. Like I think Deli, oh Lord, I don't combine their names. Dina is maybe like more mature than Ellie sometimes. And I think especially when she finds out she's gonna be a mother, I think she's a little bit more mature because she's a little bit more grounded. But at the same time, I don't think that's what Ellie likes in Dina. I don't think that's what she's looking for in Dina.
Yeah, she like wow, Dina. Let's go ride out. Like Dina like okay.
All right, you want to talk about Tommy and Jesse?
Tommy and Jesse. Tommy showing up at the end. First of all, Tommy beginning of the season, big zombie fight.
Woo! Yes, that was good.
Snapping my
That
fingers,
was
snapping my
good.
fingers. He learned a lot from his brother, but he knew a lot himself. It seemed like he fought in he was in the military before all this happened. He spent all 15 plus years going with Joel, traveling everywhere. He knew certain things. He helped get that community prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
Seeing him tell everyone like, "Hey, we got to be prepared. What's our game plan if something goes wrong?" Seeing the training that they were doing, and it all came to fruition when that big horde of zombies came storming down that mountain.
On New Year's Day when everybody was probably hungover, it was like the worst. It's like the one day you want to sleep in.
Yes, and that was just a good reminder to us, to the community and us, the audience. Like just because it's all peace and it's safe and everything seems to be going good, remembering the threat outside the walls and just seeing that level of preparation that Tommy had put in place, it's the thing that saved him.
And I know a lot of people said that they didn't like that we spent so much time in Jackson this season, but I disagree. I felt like last season everybody said they wanted more zombie stuff. I feel like this is the way that you do it. I thought that it felt very scary, like when you see Abby like wake up that small amount of zombies and then they just get bigger and bigger and bigger and then you see the like the herd redirect to the town and you see the lookout and everything and like they when they realize the wall is gonna fall and that scene with the bloater when you can like that video game scene basically like it felt like being in like a Resident Evil game or something when you could hear it coming down the alley and like Tommy gets backed up and he has to defeat that thing. That was good to me. Like the dogs and just everything,
Oh,
how they got up on the
oh,
roof. And it was just like, it made me feel like, wow, where would I go? Like, there was nowhere that was safe. Like, you just survived just based off of like sheer luck. or just being that guy like Tommy is, or like his like Rutina. I can't think of her last name, but she played Tara in True Blood. Like
Yeah.
it was because they drilled. You could tell you survived. The town survived because they had drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled, and it. Oh man,
Hey,
it was so good.
to that, when the zombies breached the wall, there were four people with flamethrowers ready to go.
Ooh,
And it was, who was it? It was Tommy, three other people. Two of those people ran. They were cowards. In the face to protect their community, they were cowards. But Tommy stayed, and that other dude stayed, and that
and
other
who
dude.
lived?
It,
Who lived?
and but I still want to shout out to that dude that died because he could have ran. He could have skedaddled. He
Yes.
stayed there
Oh, he
for
was
his
brave.
community to the end. So shout out to him and to
Yeah.
all those people at Jackson. Because what if we're not going to defend this? We lose everything. You're not gonna survive out there by
It's
yourself with
nothing to
no
survive for,
supplies.
yeah.
So what you gonna
It's
do?
nothing to survive for. I mean, to me, that scene was good, and I saw people compare it to The Long Night, and they also compared it to No Way Out on Long Night on Walking Dead, Long Way Out on Game of Thrones. Oh no, nope, I mixed them up. Long Night on
Game of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones,
All right.
No Way Out on Walking Dead. There
Uh,
we go. And it was one of those moments where like I wish that we had got maybe a little bit more of the town, especially if we could have gotten 10 episodes this season,
yeah,
that we could have gotten a little bit more of the town, because I do think that was a really impressive stand that they put up. And it was cold.
it's cold.
And it was cold.
Dead of
Like
winter is January in Wyoming.
January 1st, New Year's Day, you hung over, you cold, and now you got to fight. You have to fight. You don't have a choice in that situation. And I mean, the settlement held. Like when we saw the town hall meeting, it was a lot of people who made it through. Like a lot of people died,
Hmm.
but a lot of people lived. And so like that shows you how well prepared that community was. And so I thought that I really like seeing Tommy settle like as a dad, as a leader. I know he makes different choices this season than he makes in game 2, or it looks like we didn't get to see. We may see some more of it in season 3. And I want to see more Tommy, because I do think that Tommy is like the taste that we've gotten of him. I think he's the role is really well acted, and I do want to see more of um how he feels about this whole situation with Abby and Ellie and everything going into the next season, if he survives. For
Dun, dun,
people.
dun.
Oh, did
Now,
I kind of just spoil it a little bit? My bad.
at worst, I can cut it out.
Okay.
um,
Yeah, but I enjoyed him this season.
yeah, I really. Uh, just from what we've seen, I wonder if we're going to see more of his character from the perspective of Abby, because at the end of the season, we see that
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see, because who was it? Oh, Ellie was there for 3 days, and now we're going to see it from the perspective of
Mm-hmm.
Abby for those 3 days, and we
Mm-hmm.
see what's our girl name? Ellie say, "Hey, maybe that's somebody we know," and when we learn that the gunfire in the distance may be Tommy, I think it would be really cool to see how Tommy and what's our boy named Jesse, when he got over there to help Tommy, how they got out of whatever crazy situation they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be what led
Yes.
Abby to them at the end of the season.
We just need one badass Tommy moment every season.
And
As
bring back
many as we
Jesse.
can get. Oh, man, I feel like young Manzino is he should be one of those people on those like Vanity Fair covers, like actors to watch. Like he was so good in Beef, and I know you didn't watch Beef, but everybody should watch Beef. It was an excellent TV show. He was so good on Beef, and he's so good here. And I think that you know, I do agree with a lot of the criticism about how The Last of Us as a franchise handles POC characters. And the way that they introduce a lot more POC characters in the second game, and then how they handle those characters' lives, like or the trauma and the tragedy that is put upon uh BIPOC characters in the games. And I do think that he's a victim of that, and he does get a little bit more in this season than he does compared to in the games. But man, it was hard to watch Jesse go, because I think Jesse represented something so important. And I think it's unfortunate that like we have two zombie shows, zombie dramas that have two Asian male leads who represent something very important and are killed off and
Yeah,
represent the loss of that thing. I think that's very unfortunate.
yeah, and this might be just for me. He represented, especially when he gave his speech about how he felt that the community in Jackson, Wyoming, was dependent on him to be a
Hmm.
leader, to be potentially a new leader. Once people age out, he's the next generation, and to see it quickly come to an end, just so
Yeah.
abruptly, I can't wait to see how the town, if they do make it back, how they respond to that information. Because like he was the future, like he
Hmm.
was the best of them, and now that bright light's just gone. Like who do we have? Who's going to be next up to help protect us, to help guide this community?
Yeah, and I wish that in the show that I know that like his death is meant to represent how things can happen at the blink of an eye and how people can even a great person, a larger than life figure to Ellie could be or to the town could be like
Yeah.
that, snuffed out in the unceremoniously. And I do think that he, at least compared to Glenn on Walking Dead, like Glenn's death is a little bit bigger because of how dramatic it is versus Jesse's, which is a little bit just a lot more quieter. And especially the way like on the show, he shot, we see one shot of his body, then we have this cliffhanger, then we cut to Abby, and the episode is over and the season is over. So we don't really even get to linger on his death and really feel that. We don't, at least this season we don't get to see Dina find out that he's dead. And I think Ellie reacts to it, but she still has to quickly move over to the conversation with Abby. So I think it's still unfortunate. I still don't really love how his character goes out, even though I know what it's supposed to represent. I still don't like it. I still wish that he had a better outcome, So
Yeah,
I love what his character I love what his character represents. I love the portrayal, but I'm not satisfied with how it ends.
I do want to
But
say
uh-huh.
I, I might be the crazy person, but I would have liked a little more Jackson to flesh out the seasons, to see more of the characters, more how the community is interacting with each other.
Hmm.
If we would have pushed back Joel's death another episode, just to get just a tiny bit more, and maybe that's me being selfish, saying I want more content, but I think that would have just been good for the development, to then see the city almost fall. It would have
Yeah.
just added more to it.
Man, Joel was the plug in that town. I know a lot of people was mad when Joel died. Joel knew how to fix everything. He was stringing guitars. He had the coffee plug. He was getting birthday cakes. He was trading stuff. Like Joel had the he had everything.
Boy, he had that community booming.
Joel was a millionaire the whole time.
Oh man, don't check his closet. Ellie went in the back of that
Listen,
closet, boy, with a stash back there.
you don't know what Joel got. He was
Keep
minding
that
your
to
business.
yourself. But I guess we can talk about the exciting city of Seattle. Definitely seemed like they're saving this for season 3. We get good flashes of the WLF or the Wolves. We get flashes of the Seraphites, but not enough for me to say I like them. I dislike them. They were just
Hmm.
interesting for the plot they were presenting. They helped progress the story.
Yeah, and I know they're supposed to be like a proxy for like the Israel and Palestine conflict, which I agree with a lot of people where I don't like that. I don't like that comparison because I don't think that that holds or I don't think that's very accurate. I
This,
think it's
this
too.
this definitely seems like an equal fight, which the fight he's talking about in real life does not.
Yeah, but I think if you step away from that, it's just hard to say because we just got so little of them in season 2 because clearly they're saving the bulk of what's going to happen in season 3. So I don't think that I'm like aligned to one side or the other. I don't think that I feel like one side is right or one side is wrong. I do think it was interesting that they had that conversation with the two WLF people about, oh yeah, this fungus is airborne. Like I think that was kind of interesting. It was cool to see at the in the season finale how big the WLF operation was. I thought that was cool. I'm a little bit less interested in like the whole religious cult angle because I just am not a fan of cult content. Period. So like I think I was a little bit less interested in the Seraphite thing. But just knowing what comes next in the story, I'll be more probably engaged in season 3. But to me, it was just like, okay, I know we need to show this to get to season 3. It's really cool to see Jeffrey Wright, of course. But other than that, I was like,
I'm really going to need them to help me understand, especially after seeing the operations that the WLF had. How is this? How are these people who seem predominantly on this small island, maybe dispersed throughout the area? How they're able to put up a fight like this? This is not a
yeah,
fair fight. They're using arrows against people with semi-automatic rifles. Like I don't care how good they are. That's you ain't gonna win too many fights like that. Seeing
yeah.
the Seraphites and how they kill people with hanging and then slicing their stomach open, I felt like they were doing that too much without it having any satisfactory end. It's like we're just seeing them do it to random people. If you're not going to see them do this to somebody, maybe we got to know or somebody
Mm-hmm.
that Ellie met along the way, then we see them hang up and it's like okay, they just kept showing it, and it's like all right, what are we gonna do? How is this gonna come back to haunt us? And maybe that'll be season 3. But it's like all right, we'll wait.
The challenge of having 7 episodes. Yep.
Yes, definitely
All
a
right, so
challenge.
we talked about them. Last but not least, Abby and her crew.
Abby and the gang, Abby and the fellas. Uh, Definitely did not seem threatening to me. I at no point when I saw them where I was like, wow, this is going to be a dangerous group. What are they going to do? What are they about to do? It's like, oh, okay, they lucked
Mm-hmm.
up. Abby ran into Joel. They got him pinned down, and it was like they just a whole bunch of circumstances led by luck. Nothing that seemed skillful to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and even when we see them later, like it's they just seem like people. They don't seem like a threat. Of course, we're not supposed to assume they're a threat. They just came to kill Joel, but I don't know. Something seems missing from the characterization that we I guess we may get in season 3.
Yeah, they're another one where I feel like it's too soon for me to really put a like it or dislike it or fail or success label on them because we just got so little of them. I think, do I feel like Abby, as portrayed by Caitlin Deaver, is intimidating? No.
No.
Do I feel like she comes across to me as somebody who I would be like, ooh, I don't want to go toe to toe with her. No. But we also see that she does luck into things and gets to drop on Joel. Then she gets to drop on Abby and Ellie and Jesse. So, and we know that I can't think of his name on the show,
Isaac.
but
Isaac.
yes, Isaac, thank you. Isaac has a lot of faith and confidence in her. So I'm hoping that like by the time we get to season 3, something different will happen in that portrayal where we'll kind of get to see why he has the confidence that he has in Abby, why her friends would like Nora's really literally willing to die for her. So I feel like we want to see who this person is and why she's so big and bad, why she's so competent, why she's so intimidating, why she's so effective as a leader. But we didn't get that at all in this season. So I think it's hard for me to even really come down on one side or the other because we just got so little Abby this season.
Yeah, and I know they broke it up for a reason, but
Mm,
essentially, I mean, they're our main antagonists for the season, and I don't feel like there was no satisfied conclusion. It felt like there's another part of the story to tell, and if you're telling me that, it's like if somebody asks me should I watch it, I can tell them to wait till the next season so we can finish the arcs that were introduced. And I think a lot of good to tell a good story of television, a good season of
mhm,
television is we have to have satisfying arcs within the season that end. And for Abby and the crew, for them to be the driving force for the season, it's like they drove it and then they were gone and they were kind of a
mhm.
background blur, kind of.
And you're right. I think to kind of transition into like our overall thoughts of the season, I think that you're in a show, and for me, the shows that do this well are from The Walking Dead and the X Files. Those are 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. Game of Thrones as well. 4 I can think of off the top of my head who did this really well. You should have satisfying episodes. You should have satisfying mini arcs within a season. You should have satisfying arcs that are the whole season. and then you should have satisfying arcs across the series. And I feel like season 2 of The Last of Us, it didn't have any of those things. It didn't have a satisfying season arc. It didn't have a satisfying episode. Most of the episodes didn't have a satisfying like beginning event, ending event. A couple of them, like they were able to get away from zombies or something like that. Like I think overall this season, I would say like, what is the thesis of the season? What's the theme of the season? What's the journey we go on at the season? And very similar to House of the Dragon season 2, you don't end this season feeling like things really anything concluded, anything was wrapped up, anything like if you had to say what was the arc of this season, what was the purpose of this season, it felt like okay, well we needed this part to get to the next part. It just kind of felt incomplete.
Yeah, just when you get the next part, it'll be complete. It's like, oh well, I didn't need to be here then. What do we learn about characters? And I feel like when you have that up and down writing for your supposed main character of the season, which was Ellie, that completely hindered everything. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay for a character to end up in a worse place if that's where they're going. But what did we learn on the way? Like what was the goal? And I think they dropped the ball on that.
This season to me felt like a Marvel movie, like the bad ones, where this movie just exists to get us from movie 1 to movie 3, or
Introduce a
from
point.
like yeah, or to introduce something, but it on its own can't stand as a good movie. It only exists in the context of other better things. And I feel like that's what this was. It's like years from now, if you have season 2 and season 3, you can watch them together. That will probably be a more satisfying experience. But just to watch this season and then, especially knowing you got to wait 2 more years, like not satisfying at all. Mm-mm.
Not in the least. That wait in between seasons is gonna be like, okay, like
Yeah.
am I gonna maintain my interest? But I will say one of the things we did have a meaningful death in terms of Joel within the season.
Hmm.
I feel like that really helped drive the plot, and I was still very shocked by it. Anybody
Yeah.
else? Joel, Jesse bit the big one. I think those two were like
Owen and Mel.
Owen and
None of that
Mel.
was super. It'll be more meaningful next season, I think, for us looking back. But yeah,
That's the thing. We don't know enough about them. I know they were with Abby, and now I know they're not going to be with
no,
like.
they not.
And that's going to be the thing when we watch next season. Like they're going to have to do some really heavy lifting with the writing to make us feel something for the characters, with us knowing their fate.
Hmm. Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this season is the theme that I want them to go with is like this importance of community and what is community to you and what happens when you embrace community and what happens when you reject community. And I think that the conversation that Jesse was having with Ellie, like I know a lot of people on Reddit, they didn't like Jesse. They found Jesse very like high-handed and everything. But I think Jesse was right. Like I think what Jesse was saying was sometimes you can't put yourself first because community is very important. Like that's what you need to live for. And sometimes like your individual wants and needs have to come second to the greater good for the community. Because if we're just living for self, like what's the point of living? Kind of. So, and I love this conversation. I had a good time today.
I had a great time talking about the mushroom zombie people. I guess one of the
They're
things
so gross looking. Ugh.
they did a good job making them look gross. And I know we didn't really talk about the zombie mushrooms evolving, and now that I don't know if they're thinking or are
Oh
they.
yeah, we need
Yeah,
to talk about
we
that.
can hit on that. We gonna hit on that real quick. We hit on that real quick.
More zombies. We need more. Like in other shows, when they show zombies, like they'll get out the car and it'll just be a couple zombies hanging around. You just kill them. We just need more zombies.
Yeah.
We just need more zombies.
Hopefully let me scratch my leg. Hopefully they bring us more zombies, and they have the freedom to do it now. Now that the zombies aren't really tied to a network, they can like leave further away from the big tendrils that are going across America and just exist on their own. We can have random zombies now. They're smart zombies now. They're hunting zombies now.
And the hunting zombies were scary to me, but those zombies breathing out the fungus, I feel like that's one of those images in like when you watch a movie or a TV show that like just sticks in your head.
Hmm.
Like to think about the fact that Leon was still alive, basically, and he was just being kept alive in as he grew into that fungus and it was just coming out of his lungs. Like to me, that's just like so horrifying. That's probably the scariest thing that I've seen in the show.
Yeah,
Just
because when does your mind shut off to to the fungus? Like when does that happen? Like we don't know. Like how long is he conscious just against that wall and spores are coming out his body?
yes, that was it was like beautiful the way they shot it, but horrifying at the same time. And that's what I feel about the fungus. It's like it's kind of beautiful, but it's also so ugly. It's so hard to look at.
All right. I guess one important thing, one day, hopefully in another podcast episode, we can come up with a rating system. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank season 2 of The Last of Us? And you can do points and point fives and point ones in there.
Mm.
Or and I can go first if that helps.
Yeah, you go first. I gotta think on it.
Ooh, pressure now. In scenery looked great. Of course, I wish there were more zombies.
Hmm.
I enjoyed the performances we got from the actors. All the settings they looked really good, but the story and the character decisions really didn't do it for me. But it wasn't bad television. It just definitely could have been better. And I will say a
Hmm.
6.5 for season 2.
Mm. I would say I would give it a 6 or 6.5 as well. And I would say my rating system would be who would I recommend the show to? So I would recommend it. I would recommend it to somebody if you like anything zombies, if you like anything kind of like post apocalyptic but farther out. So like if you enjoyed Station 11, you would probably enjoy this season of The Last of Us.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
Station 11 was good, so check that out too.
I still gotta check it out. I only made a couple of episodes in. I gotta catch up to you. But yeah, yeah. Again, thank you all for everyone who made it this far. If you made it this far,
Thank
hopefully
you.
you've watched The Last of Us, and hopefully you go and subscribe at some of the other places we're gonna be at.
Where are you?
We're podcasting. We're on YouTube at House of Nettles. We're gonna be on. Oh, I'm on TikTok. That's how I got my start, baby. House of Nettles on there. Look for this beautiful face. Type it in. Those are probably my two main platforms. But I'm also on Blue Sky. Got to do a better job about posting on there as well. But in the description, you will find the link, and I'll go to all the cool places I'm at. So please make sure you follow us. Make sure you like the video, like the audio, like the podcast, all of it. The more you like it, the more we're like, hey, we can make more content.
Yes, I agree.
All
Follow
right.
him.
All right. Bye, y'all.